Thanks, and Roger might tell you about the watch if you want. And for those of you that don't know Roger, he is the founder and director of the Steward Observatory, Mirror Lab, and the Center for Astronomical Adaptive Optics. He's a Regents Professor of Astronomy and Optical Sciences, MacArthur Fellow, and Fellow of the Royal Society and the Royal Astronomical Society. And he's a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences and the National Academy of Science. And recently, he has taken over Bird Down Gene Pool at the University of Arizona for a very interesting project that he's been carrying out there. And every time I do my walks on campus, I'm wondering what's happening to Bird Down Gene Pool, where I used to go when I was a student many years ago. And as somebody said, you know, whatever Roger is thinking now is going to happen in 5 years, and that's a testimony to his brilliance and to his forward-looking thinking. And it's an honor to have you here with us in this event, the Solar Soiree with the Confluencenter. And without further ado, please welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry that I'm late. I need to okay.
Actually, hold it.
You can hold it. All right. So I'm so sorry I'm late. I was working away at my computer on campus, and my watch stopped because I put my hand in the swimming pool this morning, and it stopped at 11:15, so I thought I was past closing time. I suddenly noticed. Anyway, so I won't go on very long because you've already been here a long time, but I can say a little bit about some of the things we're doing on campus. Some of you may know I've been on the U for over 40 years, and I've been doing astronomy for nearly all that time, and making the big mirrors in the mirror lab. We're still doing that. But a few years ago, I got worried about climate change and global warming. I guess everybody else seems to have stopped worrying about it in the last few years, but it hasn't gone away, and it isn't going to get go away. So I wanted to see if what I'd learned about mirrors and all sorts of things, whether that could contribute something to one way to reduce carbon dioxide is to make electricity from renewable sources and coal. As you know, most the electricity you burn here, except for what's coming from the solar panels in Tucson, nearly all of it comes from burning coal, and this is not good. So the problem with solar electricity, still, even though the price of panels has come down, is that still, unless you get a handout from the government or some subsidy in one way or another, it's not economical. So whether it's rooftops or utilities or whatever, it's still the case that the actual cost is about 2 or 3 times higher than what it would have to be if you were going to pay the full cost and not get subsidies. So if we could get that factor of 2 or 3 reduction in cost, then solar would be completely transformed, and Wall Street would want to make all the solar they possibly could to make money. So it would be, instead of the present rate, which is remarkably high, but nothing like the rate of energy to replace coal, that would happen automatically if the price just got somewhat less. One way to look at this, and the way that I've been looking at, is that normally in solar electricity, you have to make the business end, the semiconductor, silicon, or whatever it is, has to be of the same area of the sunlight that you're harvesting. And the only way to get lots of sunlight energy is to harvest a lot of area of sunlight. That's the laws of conservation of energy. You can't get it for nothing. You have to grab enough sunlight to make the energy you want. So unlike with silicon chips and computers, you're used to everything getting smaller and smaller and smaller and better and better. That doesn't happen with solar energy. You can get more efficient, but you can't get very much smaller because you just got to grab the amount of power that you want. What you can do is convert the solar energy into electricity with higher efficiency. So the cells up here probably turn about 15% of the 20.
Yeah.
Oh, these are, sorry, these are sun power. Okay. Typically it's 15. The best cells that you can get, which yours, the ones that the technicians for sustainability use, right, are the best at 20%. Now there are cells which are used in spacecraft that get 40%, turn 40% of the electricity, of the sunlight into electricity. They're ridiculously expensive. The space, it doesn't matter because it's so expensive to get anything up there that it doesn't matter what they cost, right? The cost is completely dominated by the cost of the rocket. But there is a way, if you take these 40% cells and if you focus the sunlight onto them, so you can take a square meter of sunlight and focus it into just a few square inches, then you can use just a few of these cells to make a lot of electricity. And then the cost equation goes the other way. They actually get to be cheaper than even the best silicon cells. But the catch is you have to focus the light onto them. And that's where I got interested, because having spent a lot of time making mirrors, it seemed maybe I could figure out a way to do the concentrated job at a low enough cost that we could actually go lower than silicon in cost. So that's what I've been doing for the last few years. And the first example of what we've been doing is behind Bear Down Gym, and what used to be the swimming pool. And those of you who are old enough actually swam in it. If you were here at the U, what, 30 years ago or something, I don't know when it stopped being a pool. It then spent years being the site of the KUAT dish, because in the old days you needed a big dish to get the signal, and then that got better, so it lost its job there, and the old dish was there, and I thought, well, maybe we could use it to try making solar mirrors and concentrating light. Anyway, that's what we've been doing there. It's your last chance to look at it, and I should try and get an opportunity, because the athletic people are moving in on January 1st with the bulldozers, and it's all going to make room for important athletic housing. We're not dead. We're going to go to the tech park, you know, at Rita Road off the freeway there, but that'll take a little while to get set up again. So what we've been doing there is trying to make, I think in the blurb there was something about making the best mirrors. So the mirrors that we make in the Mirror Lab at the moment cost $25 million each, and they're huge and they're super precise. So they wouldn't be any good for making sunlight. You have to make them way, way cheaper. So the target is to make mirrors which, instead of costing $25 million each, cost about $50 each, which is where you have to be. So we're going in that direction, and we've made some mirrors which are now aimed at the sun and bear down, and we're using focused light on these very efficient cells, and it seems to be going pretty well. We've actually got some awards from the DOE, but the DOE is getting pretty, they've been burnt a little bit with this, so if you get an award from the DOE now, they don't just say, here's some money, go see what you can do. They say, here's some money, and if you can match it, $1.50 of investor money for every dollar we give you, then you're welcome to try your next big thing. So we've signed up to that, and now we've got to find, they will give us up to $1 million if we can find $1.5 million to match that with. So many of you have lots of money, right? Just come up to me afterwards, because that's the mode we're in now, is looking to get the match. But if we do that, we'll make the next generation of what we're doing, which is going in the direction of something that can be manufactured in quantity at a low enough cost where we can at least start to come close to the silicon panel type of cost. So I'll just say one more thing about this that makes it encouraging. A lot of mirrors for making solar up to now mirrors have been used to make steam, believe it or not. And so much more electricity with concentrated light. Far more is made by making steam than is by focusing light on these little highly efficient cells. So there is a whole manufacturing setup in the country and around the world for making mirrors. They're not quite the type that we want, so we're trying to figure out how to use those manufacturing facilities to make the kind of dished mirrors that we want. But one of these factories is in Phoenix, in Surprise actually, and for steam making concentrators, they make a mirror over 5 foot square every 20 seconds, 24 hours a day. And those mirrors are presently all going to heat a bend into a steam system. The steam systems have been around for 20 years, and they're the only thing the banks want to pay for because it's known that they will last for 20 years. Right? You don't know that the new stuff will last for 20 years. So bankability says that they have to go. But the steam systems, from end to end, only turn about 15% of the sunlight energy coming into the mirror into electricity. With what we're doing, we should be able to double that. So the same mirror ought to be able to get twice as much power. And so that's the hope that we're out there with. That's the potential for improvement that we're able to make. But it's nice that in Arizona, most of what we need are mirrors. Fortunately, the mirrors they make are just by bending the glass into a cylindrical shape, and we have to have a dish shape, and that's what we've learned to do here on campus. So we're trying to marry our dish shaping process with their very high-speed manufacturing process. But there is some hope, and those companies are looking at a fairly bleak future because PV panels are going to put them out of business. So we're hoping that we can sort of transition that manufacturing capability to making the kind of mirrors that we want. So maybe that's enough talking, and I'm very happy to maybe answer questions, or we can discuss a little bit whatever you would like or have time for now that it's so late.
Those of you that have watches at work say it's 20 till 3, so it depends on your time available.
I can stay for a bit.
Questions, comments?
So the system at the U of A behind the gym, was that system operational in terms of electrical production, or it was only operational in terms of the physical structure?
No, it was operational in terms of just collecting light a couple of years ago, and we did this wonderful thing where you focus the light on a 1/4-inch thick piece of steel, and in 15 seconds you melted a quarter-sized hole in it, liquid steel poured down. So that's where we were 2 years ago. This summer we've taken the same focus, and we're making 2.7 kilowatts of electricity out of there with an end-to-end efficiency of 28%. And that we're not done yet, right? That'll go above 30% soon. So we are actually making electricity when the sun shines from that system.
But it's been about 6 months that it's been making that electricity.
Well, a year ago we were making it with 21% efficiency, so we've been improving the system.
And so the cells, what are the challenges in terms of keeping the cells from overheating at that level of concentration?
Well, we've, unlike most people, we've gone to a sort of water-cooled system, very much like your car. So we have recirculating antifreeze, and our liquid goes behind the cells and cools them. And that's working extremely well. So that our cells are cooler than your cells, in the sense that they only run, even though we focus 1,000 times the density of energy, solar energy, onto them, they only run 20 degrees centigrade hotter than ambient air temperature. So that means they're very efficient. And these cells, in any case, in hot climates, they're very good because they don't degrade in the same way that silicon does when you work in a warm climate.
What's the base? Is it gallium arsenide? What's the base cell?
It's actually the base is germanium, but they use everything.
Sure.
And they sort of have the reason that they're more efficient than silicon is that silicon only uses a fraction of the spectrum of sunlight, and these have 3 different materials, none of them silicon, and they take, one has a whack at visible, and one at red, and then one at infrared, and that's how they make more, you know, from each square foot of sunlight, they can make twice as much.
Just something, because you said that the mirrors in this processing plant originally made steam for steam energy systems. Since the cells get so hot, couldn't you use water to steam at the same and get the photovoltaic as well as the steam, so doubling up the efficiency?
Yeah, you can do, and there's an outfit in Israel that has something like what we have, but they run the cells a lot hotter, get hot water, and they use it in hatching chickens right there. So the problem is there are only so many chickens to hatch, right? So if you have water that's only at, you know, the same temperature as your hot tap, and you're doing it, what I've been envisaging, you know, to do something about climate change, you've got to have many, many square miles of this, and there's just so much use you can make of not very hot water. It's also, you know, if you want warm or hot water, you can just put black pipes down in the desert or anywhere, right, to get it inexpensively. So it's a matter of economics. I tell people that when you're driving your car, you're burning this precious gasoline to make energy, and more than 80% of the energy you're burning in gasoline goes into heat. You blow it off in the radiator, and you don't give a single thought to the fact that you're wasting all that heat. And so, you know, under whatever the economic circumstances, it's often not economic to use it.
There is a system at the U of A that's also a test system on one of the dorms. It's a cogeneration system. It's weighted more towards the solar thermal, so it